I would like to begin with today's devotion from Forward Day by Day. In that devotion, the Reverend Scott Gunn begins with a verse from the 16th chapter of the Gospel according to Mark. And they went out and proclaimed the good news everywhere, while the Lord worked with them and confirmed the message by the signs that accompanied it. Father Gunn goes on to write, "Today we celebrate the feast of St. Mark the Evangelist. Thanks be to God for Mark, as well as the other evangelists, Matthew, Luke, and John. Think of how impoverished our lives as Christians would be if these recorders of the good news had not left us records of the life, ministry, suffering, death, and resurrection of Jesus. It's scarcely imaginable." Mark's gospel is the shortest of the four. A friend of mine, that is, a friend of Father Gunn's, used a sabbatical to memorize the entire gospel, and he recites the whole thing for rapt audiences. It takes a little over an hour, and the story is gripping as it moves along at what seems like breakneck speed. I hope you'll consider reading the whole Gospel of Mark. Reading an entire gospel at once gives us the big picture. And I know that every time I read an entire gospel at once, I am inevitably inspired to proclaim good news because the story of Jesus Christ is too good to keep to myself. Father Gunn is right. Thanks be to God for Mark, as well as the other evangelists, Matthew, Luke, and John. And thank God for their having recorded the good news of Jesus Christ, and especially for their different accounts of the resurrection. Of the four Gospels, accounts of Easter morning, I think Mark's is probably the most unsettling. We are told in Mark's account that the women saw the stone rolled away, and they saw that the body of Jesus was not there. They heard the message of the angel, and they were so undone by this sequence of events that they turned away and ran. We're told, trembling and bewildered, they said nothing to anyone because they were afraid. The impression given by Mark is one of real terror and the utter inability to cope with the news just received. And I think Mark wanted us to be unsettled. The news of the raising of Jesus of Nazareth is stupendous in every way, especially in its implications for life going forward. If the resurrection is God's ultimate word to us about our destiny, and I believe it is, then there is reason to rejoice, certainly, but also reason to tremble. For life from now on just can't be the way it always has been. It has to be different. For now, we feel the risen Christ present in so many ways in our lives. And when I think about the presence of Christ in our lives, my favorite description of this constant presence is found in the 6th verse of hymn 370, St. Patrick's breastplate. We sing, "Christ be with me, Christ within me, Christ behind me, Christ before me, Christ beside me, Christ to win me, Christ to comfort and restore me. Christ beneath me, Christ above me, Christ in quiet, Christ in danger, Christ in hearts of all that love me, Christ in mouth of friend and stranger. With that kind of presence in our lives, a resurrected life is different. It just has to be. With the abiding presence of Christ in our lives, there is no limit to the change we can hope for, no limit to the possibilities we can dream of, no limit to the good we can accomplish with God's grace. So God bless you. Happy Easter. Rejoice and tremble. Christ is with you. Let him take you into a future that is somewhat scary, but just as exciting and always wondrously astonishing. And remember always, in that future, as now, you are loved.